Good evening and welcome to race 2 of season 7 of tier 1 at UFRL around Qatar. We'll be entering short qualifying in a brief moment as Hazel will be looking to make it back-to-back wins, especially with Pesci not racing tonight. But can one of the other drivers stifle the Hazel charge towards a trophy? We're about to find out as qualifying is brought to you live from Qatar. I assume my microphone is working for this qualifying session. I'm not just going to be rabbiting to myself. If someone can let me know in the comments, that'd be great. So we'll wait for the first car to come out on track and we will follow them. Give me a chance to set up the details I need. So who's going to be the first car out? So we have 18 minutes, of course, in short qualifying. Who's going to be the first one to blink? It's going to be the McLaren, or is that going to be Linked Peace or Kingy? It's going to be Kingy. In fact, it's going to be the Kick Sauber of last week's winner, Hazer, first out on track. So Hazer just working his way through the back section of the track. Will be trying to get the soft tyre into optimal working temperature, of course, for his first flying lap. We could just come through to the end of sector 2, and then you've got the long right-hander here, and he's going to have Kingy just behind him on his fast lap as well. So we'll keep on board with Hazer for the duration of this first flying lap at Qatar in race 2. So just coming down the final corner, and here we go, onto maximum throttle. And just have a little bit of traffic ahead. Hopefully they all have the sense to get out of the way. The Red Bull is out the way there. I think it's Poochie Head out the way. Could be Viva. And the kick is scampering off. The Kick Sauber is scampering off down the circuit, as he does have a Visa RB just in front of him, who also gets out of the way. We have yellow flags in the final sector. The Haas is maybe giving one another a tow down the back straight there. So Hazer just coming through the windy middle sector 2, and just up from him he has a little bit more traffic, but that probably won't interfere with this lap, as he is on a 57.7 through 2 sectors, and it'll be interesting to see where this benchmark time goes for the rest of the field. Because Hazer was a bit scraggly from memory last week in qualifying, but he did manage to eventually get a good lap in, I believe. He runs very close there to invalidate him, but he doesn't, and he goes fastest with a 1:21.9, obviously. Would go on board with... Yay, my mic works, good. And Danny Gill, or Kingy, is 2 seconds off the pace, nearly there. We'll go on board with Mr. Poem, who's coming round to the penultimate corner now. Mr. Poem just working his way down to the final corner in the Haas. And nearly invalidates, but stays within the limit. And Mr. Poem's good enough for P2 with a 1:23.2. So that looks a mighty lap from Hazers. SD Lane pops in a 1:23.1. We'll go on board with Doug, who's stepping up today into Tier 1. Doug nearly running wide there on the exit there. And now just to the final corner. It'll be interesting to see where this Tier 2 Aston will put itself after the first round of laps. It's good enough for P7 at the moment. We'll jump down to Dutch Beast, of course, in Tier 1 from Tier 3. Jumped 2 tiers this season. So he makes his way around the corners. Young Lights goes fastest for a 1:21.7. Wasn't here last week for one reason or another, but we'll just hop on board with Merck. So Hazer knocked down to P2. We're on board with the Mercedes of Merck at the moment, and he's on a 101 after 2 sectors. I think Hazer's around a 57, so I think this is a slower lap from it as he nearly runs wide there on the exit, but keeps it in bounds as he has a Ferrari right on the corner, but the Ferrari vacates into the pits. So Merck will do a 1:26.8, so Merck will obviously improve. So we'll go on board with Link's piece. In fact, no, we'll go on board with... Where is Viva? Still in the pits, so we'll go on board with Link's piece as he just comes through to Sector 1. What is his Sector 1 time like? It's purple. His Sector 1 time is purple. So eyes on Link's piece here as he navigates the tricky Sector 2. Not Merck's favourite track, Qatar. I'm yet to hear the backstory behind that, but he's not the biggest fan, as Link's piece does a 57.8. So this will be a challenge as the Haas is able to get off the racing line, and now it's going to be a dash to the final corner for the McLaren. As Hazer's already out doing another lap, so Hazer obviously feeling the pressure from Young Light, but here comes Link's piece with a dive to the line, and it's going to be a 1:22.0. So we'll go on board with William, who wasn't too far behind. He's gone into the 1:23s. On board with the Alpine of George Hutch, as King Gyoji says, "Let's go Lynx." There's a reason he drafted Lynx ahead of his brother, and is this the reason around Qatar? So the Alpine of George Hutch coming down the pit straight, and he is good enough for P11. Pucci says, all the best fellas and fellettes. Pucci had yet to come out. The Red Bulls yet to show their hand. Red Bull, of course, my team. I'm the team principal. We had a fantastic week 1 with a win in Tier 2 and a P2 in Tier 1. So we had a good week. So hoping we can carry this forward as we're on board with Bad Boy, who's making the charge for the line, who'll go into P4 with a 1:22.3. Now we'll go on board with Viva, who's just into turn 1. Because we have halfway through qualifying, we have 9 minutes remaining. So enough time for this to all change. But at the moment, Young Lights leads will start and Hazel will be on the dirty side of the grid box. And then we'll have Link's Piece and Bad Boy. That's if it stays as it is, but with the track rubbering in, I imagine a few changes, a few improvements, as Viva is now just coming through Sector 2. See where he is on that comparison to the leaders. So Viva's done a 58.7, so he is a second or so down from Young Lights' time. But it'll be maximum attack now as Viva invalidates his lap. So Viva has invalidated his lap. Will he pull it into the box? So it was a 1:23.6, but it obviously won't count. And Poochie Head still yet to come out. What is the game plan here from Poochie Head? But we'll hop on board with Linked Piece, who's just not sure if he's improved, but he's coming down to the final corner. A little bit of traffic ahead of him in the form of a Haas and a Mercedes, but one veers off into the pit lane. Will Link's Piece improve? He does. Link's Piece is now into provisional pole with a 1:21.6. So Hazer has been bumped down to P3, but still plenty of time left yet. We'll hop on board with Steel Lane. Is Steel Lane improving through the first sector? We'll stay with him for the duration of the first sector, see if he improves. As Rusted Bolt improves to a 1:22.2, sorry. And Steel Lane is down on time, so we will come away there as Poochie Head is starting his push lap. We're on board with the McLaren of Kingy OG, who is slightly up on time, but only so slightly, and is P10. As Viva now puts in a representative time of a 1:23.4. Bit of a banker lap there, you feel, from Viva. We're on board with Coffee as he comes through. Excuse me. I'm on board with the Aston as he comes up through towards the end of Sector 1. The double right-hander. And we'll stay on board with him if he's improving. He's improving by 4/10, so we'll stay on board with him as he approaches the windy Sector 2. So it's Link's Piece from Young Light, from Hazer, from Rusted Bolt, your top 4 at the moment. And then Bad Boy, Mr. Poem and Dutch Beast all ahead of the man we're on board with at the moment, who's provisional P8, as Kofi is now pretty much 6/10 up on his previous time. But Coffee's going to be right in the mix as the Alpine is able to get out the way, and Coffee will take the final corner. Looks like a clean exit there, and that's a dive for the line. What will he improve to? So Coffee improves to P5. We'll hop on board with Poochie Head, who's yet to set a time. He is on a 58.3, so he ain't going to be troubling the front runners there. I wouldn't have thought. Too much time to make up. It's just a bit of a banker lap for the Red Bull. Poochie just coming down the straight now, and he goes into P9, 1:22.8 from Poochie. Coffee is up into P5. We're on board with Mr. Potwash. who is slightly up on his time, so we'll stay on board with Mr. Potwash as he comes through Sector 2. 4 minutes remaining of qualifying. But as it stands, the McLaren will have pole position from the Visa RB as the Haas has aborted the lap. He's got off the racing line for the McLaren of Danny, so we'll go on board with Danny, who is invalidated. So we'll go on board with Dutch Beast as Dutch Beast improving. Dutch Beast is slightly down on time, so we'll stay on board with him in case he can claw some of that back. So the Dutch Beast and the Ferrari team, will they improve? No, they don't. A second slower. There's Poochie Head going again. So Poochie Head, is Poochie Head going to improve? No, he's going to box. So everyone pretty much in. Young Lights is out there, and he set a fastest first sector. Watch out for Young Lights in the Visa RB here. They'll stay on board with Young Lights. Will he improve in Sector 2? We're just about to find out as he comes up to the marker. Yeah, he's 2/10 up, so this has a real shot at pole position as long as he can keep it inside track limits. I fancy him to regain provisional pole. So he's just round the final corner. Oh, very close to track limits, but keeps it inside. And it is just enough. 8/100ths of a second takes the Visa RB to pole position. So that has triggered a reaction from Link's Piece, Hazer, Rusted Bolt. They're all coming out as Dutch Beast comes into the pit lane. We're on board with Doug, who is half a second, well, 4/10 of a second up, so I'll stay on board with Doug for the duration of this lap. So Doug improves to P10, he's 7/10 quicker there. Poochie Head is on an out lap. Rusted Bolt, well, where is Rusted Bolt? Kick Sauber just starting there for hot lap. We're on board with Rusted Bolt first. See where Rusted Bolt feeds in as we have a minute left of qualifying. So this could be it for Rusted Bolt to get round as he goes fastest in the first sector. He's 2/10 up in the first sector. Half the time I think that they're a glitch, but I'll go along with it for the sake of the stream. As it gets windy through Sector 2, he's got a Ferrari just ahead of him then. Will he cause an issue? Will he be able to pick up a bit of a tow? As he's 4/10 up, Rusted Bolt on the charge here. As he goes round the triple right-hander. And the Mercedes well off the racing line as the Alpine now round the final corner. Oh, dip pre-tyres outside that line, but Rusted Bolt good enough for P2 with a 1:21.682. Where is Link's Piece is going faster. As Hazer comes across the line. Hazer's done a 1:21.4 in all that. Sorry Hazer that I missed it. We're on board with Link's Piece. And Link's Piece doesn't improve. Well, he does improve. Young Lights pops up as well. But he has invalidated. So Rusted Bolt back down to 4th. So Link's piece won't improve, and then we're on board with Bad Boy. Can Bad Boy sneak in there? It's going to be a dive to the line for Bad Boy, and he goes P5, Mr. Poem P6. What's Poochie Head doing? Poochie Head is nearly, well, he's 8/10 up on time as he's coming around the final corner. So Poochie Head on the charge, and where will he feed in? And Poochie Head feeds in P6. So it's just Steve Lane to come across the line. He's 4/10 up, and he goes into P10. So that'll complete your grid. It's going to be Hazer, Young Lights, Link's Piece, Rusted Bolt, Bad Boy, Poochie Head, Mr. Poem, Coffee, Merc, Steve Lane, Viva, Dutch Beast, Doug, George Hutch, Kingy OG, always throws me a curveball, that name, UFRL, William, and Mr. Potwash. If Rusted Bolt is watching, can you please hit retire so it skips? So I just got to go on mute for the 5-minute break. Don't forget the 5-minute break. So I am back as it just ticks over past, so we should be. What's she got? I don't get that. Sure. Oh, it's a Kingy, I don't know. Hell no. So here we go. It's lights out Hazer, and Hazer's going to lead into turn one. Oh, is he? Young Lights looks like he got a better getaway. But it is going to be Hazer that leads us into turn one. But the McLaren have Link's Peace on the line. It is able to clear the Visa RB, and it is going to be Hazer from Link's Peace. As we've got a spinning Ferrari at the back. What has happened there? So we will just get the interval and the tyres. So there we have it. Lap data. Right, so there we have it. We have Hazer and Link's Peace on the mediums. Young Lights playing the long game. Everyone else on mediums except for Coffee, William and Dutch Beast, who's had a spin early in the Ferrari. Didn't see those contacts because I wasn't following them. We're on board with Hazer. But, well, we're on board with Link's Peace, who is trailing Hazer. Hazer brings us through Sector 3 for the first time of the Grand Prix. But will the McLaren be able to make a move when we get the DRS on the next lap? So Dougie moving up through the field as the McLaren going for it now. Never mind waiting until the next lap, and Link's Peace is going to glide down the inside and into the lead of the Grand Prix. And then you're going to have the Kick Sauber possibly backed up into the clutches of Young Light, but he is on the harder tyre, so the mediums will have the advantage for now. And then you've got Rusted Boat, Poochie Head and Mr. Pome will jump down to Bad Boy just for now. So top 10 as you'd expect, so early in the Grand Prix, less than a second between each individual car as Coffee is passed by, Coffee passes Kingy OG rather. We're on board with the Red Bull, but we will go back on board to the front as Hazer is reeling in the McLaren, and he will have the benefit of DRS down straight, down the start finish straight, as Mr. Potwash has already picked up 3-second time penalty 2 laps into the Grand Prix. But the Kick Sauber, the Link Piece is on a charge here, to be fair, and the Kick Sauber ain't gonna be able to get close enough. We're on board with Poochie Head in the Alpine. Sorry, Poochie Head chasing the Alpine rather of Rusted Bolt. I will follow the closest battles, don't forget it. So we'll just dive down to Coffee. We have a look up the inside of the McLaren, it's not there, so he'll come out of that one. But Hazer just being dropped to about half a second or so now. This is interesting. and then further another near half, another 8 tenths back, 7 tenths back is Young Lights. And so Poochie Head is closing now on the Alpine. That'll probably be the battle to watch, but we will go on board with Hayes to see if he is able to get a little bit closer to McLaren, who was able to fend off the threat of DRS quite comfortably, but Young Lights has picked up a time penalty, so he is on the absolute maximum around here as well. Anyway, we're on board with Hazer, but again, that McLaren is so fast, it seems, in a straight line. Hazer a little bit closer this time, but he's not going to be close enough. So your top 5 at the moment are Link Peace, leading Hazer, Young Lights, Rusted Bolt and Poochie Head. Down the field we've got a possible move from George Hutch, although he may have just been overtaken or seen it switch, I think. He tries around the outside of the Haas and it's not there, but it is there. He gets a bit of a slingshot exit and he will get the position there on the inside. But will the Haas be able to come back at him of pot wash? But it won't. We'll go back on board with Hayes is too far back there really to go on board with, so we'll go on board with Bad Boy for the first time today in the Williams. He's trading Mr. Poem by 7 tenths and he's going to be too far back. We have a big old DRS train here as Bad Boy runs wide there, and he's picked up a time penalty for that. We have a big old DRS train all the way down to Viva in P9. Again, Hayes just cannot make an impact. That McLaren has some straight line speed, I tell you. Hayes are going a little bit deeper into the corner than the McLaren there, but Young Lights has that time penalty, of course, and Rusted Bolt is closing the gap. And we're on board with Merck as we have 4 drivers all on the naughty step with penalties 5 laps into the Grand Prix. Very tricky track this with track limits. We're on board with Mercedes and Merck for the first time today, and the Williams of Bad Boy just getting a bit skittish on the exit as we head up towards the end of sector 1. But Bad Boy and Mr. Poem and Merck pretty much glued at the hip last week around, where did we race last week? I can't remember. Silverstone, around Silverstone last week. But we are back on board with the Visa RB of Young Lights, who is serving that time penalty, but he will still try and keep these two honest. But again, I think as William now picks up the time penalty, but we're back on board with Hazer. He's just going to be too far back perhaps to make a move, but he is gaining this lap. But again, he runs out of tarmac to get any sort of move done. But we're on board with Merck, who is closing in on Bad Boy as Coffee makes a move on his teammate and is up into P11. Dutch Beast not really making an impact from the back of the field there as Rusted Bolt picks up time penalties. Does anyone want a sweepstake on who's not going to get a time penalty today? Who's the chat's money on? We've on board with George Hutch, who is closing in on these 2 Aston Martins. I'll have Doug in his sights first, but he'll have 2 Aston Martins to clear if he wants to get into the top 10. Again, we're going to come away from that battle, and no, we'll stay with it because it looks like Doug has lost a little bit of time there. But Hazer, the closest he's been since he's led the Grand Prix, so I do want to get on board with Hazer ready for, as Mr. Poem picks up time penalties. We're going to come away from that battle, see how Hazer prepares his car. As you can see, he is much closer to the McLaren and he probably should get the move done. the DRS wing opens, but it looks like he might run out of tarmac again. Now they're hitting the braking sides and the link piece, keeping him at arm's length once more. We've gone ball with George Hutch, who has just passed Doug down the main straight. And Coffey has also passed a Kingy OG there. So, Poochie Head still in 5th, looking to hunt down this top 4 now, as Rusted Bolt has really arrived on the scene. He looks very quick on those medium tyres. And Poochie and Rusted Bolt will just be waiting for the scraps here, you feel. One penalty could cost you this race, I feel, today. We're on board with Hazer once more. Closest battle on track is for P1, so we will stay with this. But again, the McLaren just showing some great speed down the straight, so it's going to be very hard for Hazer rather, as Bad Boy picks up time penalties. It's going to be very hard for Hazer. He's going to need almost a slingshot type exit at the final corner, because by the time his rear wing is open, even though he should get the move as the McLaren does have to go defensive this time, and Hazer is through. And Young Lights was also fancying a bit of that. Are the hard tyres now coming back into play here, as Link's Piece's tyres just gone a little bit? So it's now Hazer back in the lead of the Grand Prix. Link's Piece P2, Young Light P3, Rusted Bolt P4, Poochie Head P5. They're on board with this Ferrari of Steel Lane for the first time today. But we will come away from that as back up the front is less than half a second. Well, there's about half a second between the top 3. And that's really crap maths from me, about 7/10 of a second between the top 3. And Visa RB of Young Lights just keeping these two honest, you feel, even though he does have the time penalty. It'll be interesting to see as Young Lights picks up his second set of warnings here, so that is 6 seconds I believe now. As Mr. Potwash also picks up 6 seconds for Bad Boy and Young Lights. And the McLaren, is it gaining on? Look at Young Lights going for both. Oh, there could be contact there. As Young Lights barreled his way through, and a double overtake, crap camera angle, but was there contact between the Visa RB and the McLaren? Hard to tell. Shitty camera angles, but the Visa RB is into the lead, and Hazer loses 2 places in one corner. That looked like a bit of a send from Young Lights, but he's made it work. If there was contact, it was very hard to pick up on screen. We'll come away from that battle just for now, so on board with Merck chasing after the Williams of Bad Boy, but he does have time penalties, does Bad Boy, unfortunately. As we're coming up to 1/3 race distance. Young Lights making that stick into turn 1. What a manoeuvre! If it was all above board. Like I said, I only got one look at it, so no hate. But could go down with Steve Lane, who fancies a run on the outside of the very skittish Mr. Potwash through there. But the leaders are going down the front, back straight. Look how far ahead Young Lights is now. He has pulled out quite the gap, and Hazer and the McLaren of Link's Piece struggling to stay with him at the moment. He built up such a significant gap there that it was easy for him to defend into turn 1 there, as Steel Lane does now pass the Haas of Potwash, DRS assisted no doubt, as it was into turn 1. We're probably coming up to the first round, or the round of pit stops. It'll be interesting to see how this all shakes out afterwards. Who is going to be the first to blink out of Hazer and Link's Peace? We feel like one of them could be boxed before the other here. As we enter the triple right-hander, it's out of Hazer. Was leading 2 laps ago, but Young Lights come by the pair of them, and Link's Peace also snuck past Hazer. And that's how we are, where we are now on lap 10, 1/3 race distance. So we're all going around for another lap. No one into the pits just yet. Young Lights going defensive from the McLaren. And there you are, the front four all line astern, bookended by penalties with Young Lights and the Alpine of Rusted Bolt. And then you got Merck, Mr. P, Bad Boy and Poochie Head in the next group, and then you got Viva leading Coffee, George Hutch down to Dutch Beast in like the second sort of split, if you like. The front 9 all separated, as you can see, all very close together as Merck, as Dutch Beast picks up a time penalty, not what he'll be wanting in the Ferrari. Hazer a little bit closer, I fancy, to Link's Peace this lap. But again, Young Lights is nearly getting himself out of DRS range here. And if he's able to do that, he'll be able to manage the situation on those harder tires. Link's Peace runs a little wide there. You've got to be careful you don't pick up a time penalty, because at the minute Young Lights has 6 seconds as Doug picks up a time penalty now. Mr. P has boxed and Merck has boxed and Poochie Head has boxed. So a little bit of pressure on the front 3 now. Can Mr. Poem, Merck and Poochie Head put together some serious outlaps? But again, Young Lights are able to keep the McLaren at arm's length. We're on board with Doug, who has to get on the brakes there. If you want to go into the back of William. So, on board with Dougie, and in the Aston Martin, reserving for Aston Martin of course today. He's hunting down William. But we'll just come away from that particular battle. It'll be very interesting to see how this all shakes out at the end, the different strategies. But Poochie Head, Mr. P, Merck and Kingy all stopping for hard tyres. So you imagine they'll all be going to the end of the Grand Prix now. But look, Link's Peace is actually out of DRS range now, as he is boxing and Hazer's following him in. So Young Lights has driven them both out of DRS zone. So advantage Young Lights, but he does have that time penalty. We're on board with Merck, who is chasing down Mr. Poem. These two once again getting very well acquainted on track. As you can see, the McLaren of Kingy OG just coming round as Dutch Beast yet to box. Poochie Head all over the back of Hazer here. Poochie Head, not sure why he's so close to Hazer, as Hazer had a bit of a moment. He wasn't this close before the pit. But is Poochie Head now in play? But then Link's Peace is a second and a half up the road from Hazer. So I'm guessing Hazer had a bit of a slow stop perhaps, or lost a bit of time somewhere. So at the moment, Young Lights leading Rusted Bolt, both yet to stop. Top 7 haven't stopped, in fact. Then it's after the top 7 you got Lynx Peace leading Hazer from Poochie Head, but you'll all be interested to see where Young Lights fits in this shakedown. Have they managed to undercut him, and how long is he prepared to take those hard tyres into this Grand Prix? So we'll stay on board here with Poochie Head. Will he be able to make a move on Hazer? Rear wing's opening, but he's not really gaining. So you have an Alpine of Rusted Bolt, who has actually been undercut by Poochie Head there in the shakedown, because I believe Rusted Bolt was ahead before the round of pit stops. Crucial information that for Young Lights. Viva up into P3 at the moment, having a solid afternoon's work for Viva. How long's he going to try and take those medium tyres, I wonder? Viva often likes the alternate strategy. His tyres seem to be just about hanging on for him right now as he's chasing down Coffee. But we'll go on board with Poochie Head, as it is the closest battle on the track, and he is all over the back of Hazer, who is clearly struggling a little bit on the hard tyre in the Kick Sauber. And Rusted Bolt will be joining them for company in a lap or so's time, you imagine, if Hazer cannot get up to speed as we come around this final corner. Hazer actually gets the better exit there, so it should help his defence. But there isn't going to be much of one, because Poochie Head is past him halfway down the straight and into possible net P2 there. And now the chase for Lynx Peace is on for Poochie Head. It will come further down the field as Steve Lane is side by side with the Alpine of George Hutch. And we've got the McLaren of Kingy OG there, getting past one, thinking about going past them both, but it's not there, so he tucks back in under the diffuser of Steve Lane. So back on board with Hazer, who's going to be too far back to mount a comeback there on Poochie Head. Excuse me. We are half distance through this Grand Prix, as we have a lock up there from Rusted Bolt, and that has put Merck all over the back of him. We're going to stay on board with this battle here. In fact, we're going to go one forward, because Lynx Peace is all over the back of the Mercedes of William, and he is on a mission. He's going to send it up the inside. He does. I think William thought better of racing and running different races. William cleverly out of the way because he knew he was boxing. And Poochie Head with the fastest lap so far today, for 1:24.6. And Mr. Poem has got a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Mr. Poem has DNF in the pit lane. So we're on board with Kick Sauber of Hazer. On board with a Kick Sauber of Hazer. In fact, we'll jump back one to Rusted Bolt. Nothing doing there from Rusted Bolt, so we'll go on board with Kingy. Go on board with Kingy, and he has Steve Lane and Viva just ahead of him. As Young Lights boxes, so we'll skip forward to Young Lights and see where he feeds out, because he's coming down the pit straight now. We're on board with Lynx Peace. I think Lynx Peace is going to cruise past Young Lights. He is. They're all going to cruise past Young Lights. Young Lights have stayed out way too long, and they're all going to pass him here, I think. And Young Lights is now into P5, but he is on the medium tyre. So watch out for him as Rusted Bolt comes back onto the track there. But Young Lights is able to navigate that. He does have that time penalty. So we've got a straight fight for the lead between these three now. As Hazer hunting down the Red Bull of Poochie Head. But I think this could be a race win for Link's Peace if he can just keep it together. Because he is 2 seconds up the road. It's been a stellar drive from Link's Peace today. So far, at least. But coming away from that battle just for now. But we'll go back to it because Young Lights is very close to the back of these. So Young Lights in the Viva RB is absolutely on the charge here. And he's probably gonna clear Hazer, you'd imagine, here. Yeah, Bad Boy picking up another time penalty. So Young Lights has already passed this Kick Sauber. And is he gonna get Poochie Head as well? He is. So Young Lights gets two in the same before turn one, and Young Lights is now on the hunt for Link's Peace. And Hazer also getting past Poochie Head there. Which could be crucial because that is possibly for a podium with the penalties to Young Lights. Anyway, we'll go just nip on board with Mr. Potwash. But Mr. Potwash and Doug just squabbling over P14, P15, but come back to that if the gap tightens. But at the minute we are on board with Rusted Bolt in the Alpine, of course, as Mr. Potwash picks up time penalties. Just gonna have a little brief look at the penalties. So there you have it. Potwash and Bad Boy have 9 seconds. Young Lights has 6, which is race defining really. Everyone else has none or 3. And Young Lights now setting the fastest lap of the race. But we're on board with the Red Bull of Poochie Head, who is still draped all over the back of that Kick Sauber on this, the 20th lap of the race. 9 remaining after this tour of Qatar. William passes Kingy, and Mr. Potwash is going to pass Doug here, you would feel. No, Doug comes back at him, but Potwash does have the inside, but Doug may own the next corner and does. Good racing from the pair. And look how close Young Lights is now to Link's Peace. Does he have a chance to pull away a monumental gap? It would be my driver of the day if he can win from here without the others getting penalties. Be very interesting if others just picked up even 3 seconds, because Young Lights is on the charge. Poochie Head ever closer once again to Hazer. Hazer not got the benefit of DRS himself, so might be a bit of a sitting duck here, you feel, and he is. There goes the Red Bull of Poochie Head, but Link's Peace closing in. Oh, Young Lights has passed Link's Peace, I do apologise. So Young Lights has passed Link's Peace for the lead of this race, but he does have 6 seconds, so he needs every single lap to be a maximum attack quality lap. But look at the gap he's already pulling out. If he can get out of DRS, then he does have a chance based on this pace. But will his tyres hold up? That'll be the other issue. We're just on board with George Hutch, who is chasing down the McLaren of Kingy. But the McLaren able to just position himself there to not really come under a threat as we enter into sector 2. Young Lights will be hoping to get outside that DRS detection, but he isn't going to. We're on board with Hazer, who will be a little bit closer here. In fact, we'll go on board with Link's Piece, see if we can close right up. The Link's Piece didn't get DRS crucially down the straight, so as Hazer does pass Poochie Head down the straight, this could be your podium right here. However, Young Lights is within 4.5 seconds from getting himself onto the podium here. As we have 8 laps remaining, is he able to put out the gap as Bad Boy picks up another time penalty, and a few positions have switched further down the field, but we're on board with the Ferrari of Steve Lane, who is chasing down William. We'll go back on board with Poochie Head through the triple right-hander. Him and Hayes are having a cagey game of cat and mouse over here, but look at the gap. Young Light has pulled out on Link's Piece already. He is a man on a mission at the minute, Young Lights. But is the Red Bull too far back to make an attack here on the kick Sauber? Thinks better if it tucks in. Is it there? He's going to go for it down the inside. But Hazer does come back at him. And just, it's kept very clean there between the two. And Rusted Bolt is now in hot pursuit, as it's three car scramble for P3. All the while, Young Lights is getting away from the three of them, and that is now looking like Young Lights could actually nick P2. Just keeping my eye on the stop, on the position changes as well. Link's Piece now dropped 2 seconds by Young Lights, so those mediums are working amazingly for that Visa RB. But again, we'll just go follow this battle down the pit straight again. We'll go on board with the Red Bull, looking like he's going to be too far back this time to mount a charge on Hazer. And he is. So the Mercedes of William coming back to Viva. If we come away from that battle, we'll go back on board with Rusted Bolt, who is just clinging on to the back of the battle for P3. I say P3 because it looks like Young Lights is going to cover his penalty. And again, he is motoring on, isn't he, Young Lights? Up front, I don't think, as Doug picks up the time penalty, I don't think that Link's Piece has an answer for this. Should come away, we'll go on board with... In fact, no, we'll stay with it. We'll stay with that battle. Go on board with Rusted Bolt. When will Rusted Bolt, if at all, make his move? We have 5 laps left as he gets ever closer to the rear wheels of that Red Bull. So when will Rusty Bolt make his move? Kingy OG, aka Danny Girl, 7/10 back on George Hutch. We come away from that battle. Not much happening in the midfield, so that's why I'm just staying with the front runners really today. So again on board with Rusty Bolt as Bad Boy. How many penalties is Bad Boy on to? Bad Boy up to 15 seconds of penalties. So Young Lights is now officially out of penalty watch. I mean, Link's Peace won't want to pick up a 3-second time penalty, that's for sure, because Young Lights can win this race if Link's Peace was to pick up a time penalty now. But Link's Peace also has to keep it on the limit, because what has Young Lights got to lose? 3.5 seconds up. Is he going to be able to pull out the sufficient gap to win the race? Poochie Head and Rusty Bolt still squabbling, and whilst they're squabbling, Hazer just looking that little bit further up the racetrack as Coffee picks up a time penalty now. We have 4 laps remaining. So it's Young Lights, but he has 6 seconds penalty. Leading Link's Peace, leading Hazer. That is your podium as it stands. But Poochie Head and Rusty Bolt will have something to say about that, I'm sure, even though Rusty Bolt does have a time penalty. So, come away as Potwash has passed Doug, and good racing between the pair here. But we will come away from that battle and go back on board with Poochie Head, who is looking a little bit closer actually to Hazer as we head down towards the final corner. Is he going to be able to make a move into turn 1 as Link's Peace is now 3.7 seconds, 3.8 seconds off the lead. So he's still got it covered. You fancy Link's Peace to keep it covered from here, but Hazer once again able to keep him at arm's length. Poochie Head's hard tyres are a lap older, and he is in the dirty air of Hazer, so his tyres will be working a bit harder, I suppose. As the Alpine of Rusty Bolt just has a little look up the inside, but it's not there. And you can see Link's Peace is actually clawing in Young Lights a little bit now. So maybe those tyres of Young Lights have hit the wall, so to speak, and maybe the race will start coming back to Link's Peace, because it looked like for a second there that Link's Peace was in a spot of bother, but he is doing well just to maintain this sort of gap that's going on here, as once again Dougie and Potwash exchanging places, but we'll stay on board with Rusty Bolt to get the best seat in the house from Rusty Bolt on what's happening here. And as I say, Young Light's tyres are going off. Are they? He's now 4.1. He can't, can he? So Hazer still able to defend from Poochie Head. Danny Girl picks up a time. Every time I look, every time I see a penalty, I glance. I just pray it's not Link's Peace, because that would chuck the race in the bin for him. As there's contact between Bolt and Poochie Head. Contact there. Did that cause any damage to Rusty Bolt? It doesn't look like it. Looked like he got away with it. It's only a minor tap. We work our way through sector 2. and Young Lights is still leading as Dutch Beast comes past Doug now in the backfield. I think Young Lights is going to run out of that. Yeah, that's game over now for Young Lights. What a valiant effort. Link's Piece should now win this. He should now be comfortable. But he won't want to pick up a time penalty, that's for sure. But he should, Link's Piece from here on in should win it. But can Young Lights cover off Hazer and Poochie Head with the time penalty now? Poochie Head is just as we're on the penultimate lap of the Grand Prix, and Rusted Bolt thought about it but opted out of it. So Rusted Bolt, next time around I think Rusted Bolt may have a little luck. So we'll come away from the battle there and we'll go on board with Steelane, who is going to be too far away from the Red Bull to mount an attack. So as we go on board, as Viva comes past William, so that was good timing. Viva clears William and he's into P9. So again, another strong showing from the Red Bull team today. We've got Poochie Head in P4 and Viva in P9. As Link's Piece is now 5 seconds off the pace, but he does have that penalty on his side, which is 9 seconds. So there you can see the map. Young Lights is going to still do enough for P2. As Link's Piece has a bit of a moment there, but he's going to be too far back. As Potwash picks up a time penalty. Rusted Bolt getting a great exit, as is the Red Bull of Poochie Head, but he looks a little bit further back. Poochie Head might come on to attack it, but he does have a little bit of a... So as Rusted Bolt thinks around it, as Poochie goes round the outside, it's just about kept clean between the pair, but does Poochie now have the inside line on Hazer? He doesn't. Does Rusted Bolt able to go around the outside of Poochie Head? He's going to get a better drive here, you would think. Is he going to send it up the inside? He isn't. So this is the race here for P4. Oh, sorry, P3. This is the final spot on the podium right here. It is Rusted Bolt chasing after Poochie Head and Hazer. The race is pretty much done. I think Link's Piece is going to win this one. It's going to be Young Lights remarkably with 9 seconds finishing in P2. And then it's going to be one of these three in P3. It's probably going to be Hazer because of where the finish line is located. But Rusted Bolt may have one more chance if he can get a good exit, or if Poochie Head was to make a mistake. But don't forget, Rusted Bolt does have those time penalties, as Viva picks up time penalties in his last lap. But it is going to be Link's Piece your winner, Young Light second. It's going to be Hazer P3, Rusted Bolt on the line P4, but the penalties will see Poochie Head get P4. Then it's going to be Rusted Bolt, Merc. Then it's not going to be Bad Boy because it is time penalties. It's probably going to be Coffee. It's going to be Coffee next, I believe. It's going to be Coffee. And I think my driver of the day is possibly Young Lights, because he nearly won with a 9-second penalty. The 6-second penalty ironically wouldn't have been enough, but it would have been very close at the end. We're on board with Doug, who's next across the line, and then it's going to be Dutch Beast, who I think does him on penalties. So Dutch Beast does indeed finish 14th. So there you have it. Your driver of the day on the game is William. Didn't see too much of William's race, if I'm honest, because I was too busy watching the excitement at the front of the Grand Prix. But that'll do it for this week in Tier 1. Thank you for watching, and I will see you again next week. Ciao for now.